When you got nothing better to do, it's time to get hanging with the hers.
Hey guys, how you doing today? So today is a bit of a rough day for me. It is 3 years ago that my dad passed away, and it's still a rough time. I still have my my rough moments with it. Some days, most days I'm fine, I don't have any issues, and then I'll have a day that's really like a tough day. So thought I would have a few share a few memories of my dad with you. My dad, when he passed away, he was 88 years old. Now some of you have seen, may have followed me from my other channel, and so I actually have I think it's a 3-part tribute there where I talk about my dad. He was an amazing man. He was 88 years old when he passed away. He lived through heart disease for many years, and he had lung cancer, and he'd had throat cancer, which he survived both. He never smoked a day in his life, but he got cancer. He was born on a train in no man's land between Russia and China, and he was actually, when he was born, he was taken by his grandfather and raised for the first 3 years of his life with his grandfather, basically almost like being kidnapped from his mum. So when his grandfather passed away, like, his grandfather had basically was raising him to take over from him and, you know, inherit his lands and everything. The story is that my great-grandfather was one of the last warlords in China. After my great-grandfather passed away, because it was a feudal time, so all the uncles and cousins were all coming, because it was easy to take control and kill a 3-year-old than it was to control and kill a grown man. So they were all coming to, basically kill my dad. So his dad came in the middle of the night and basically kidnapped him again and took him back to his mom, and this was all in China. And so my dad grew up in Tianjin, China, and in the war, he fought in the Second World War. He didn't have to join the army there because he had a choice of what his nationality was going to be, because he was born on a train in no man's land. So he saw what was going on in the war and how people were being treated, and so he decided to join up and enlist. And he actually joined the he was a intelligence. He was in the Chinese army intelligence. And so he used to tell stories about how, because his mum didn't know, his mum would have totally freaked out if she found out at that time. It was only later that she found out, once he was deployed and had to leave. But he would go for meetings, like these secret meetings with these other guys from the intelligence I don't know what committee or whatever it was, and he would be like, oh no, we're going for noodles. My dad loved to eat, and he loved soup noodles. So his mom's like, okay, you go enjoy your soup noodles. So they'll be sitting at the table, and they'll basically be planning out and rooting out the whole attack structure, I guess it was. Attack, what would you call that? The attack strategy, by taking, like, whatever was on the table. Like, if there was hot sauce on the table, they would put it in a place, and chopsticks were used as one part of what the strategy was. Like, maybe there was a building or something, and bowls were used, and spoons, and whatever they had on the table, they were using that as in part of their strategy. And so that's sort of what my dad did. And then when his mum found out that he had enlisted and he was actually going off to fight, she beat him up. She beat him up, but that was back in the 1930s, right? So 30s, 40s. So yeah, he got a hiding from his mom, a grown man. But my dad, he was 22, and he had about 1,000 men underneath of him. He was a major in the Chinese army, which was equivalent in rank to the American army, because they were attached to the American army. And because my dad spoke English and Chinese, he was actually utilized by the Americans as a translator. So when towards the end of the war, when they captured the last emperor of China, Puyi, my dad was actually the one who interrogated Puyi and did a lot of the translations for the Americans. And it was my dad who coined the term the puppet emperor in regards to Puyi. And he said, this guy doesn't know anything, he's just a puppet emperor. So then after the war, my dad, he was still attached with the Americans, and the Americans had told my dad, well, actually I should tell the story about go back to Puyi and the horse, right? So after they'd released Puyi and they sort of said, yeah, okay, he didn't know anything, he was a puppet emperor, and they let him go, Puyi invited my dad and the colonels and majors and generals, and all of those top-notch, top brass, I guess it was, Americans back to his palace in Tingxing. And as though, he was showing them around, and he was, preparing a lavish banquet for them, and this was his thanks to them. So as they were going through the house, he's showing different artifacts to them, and they're showing them this beautiful, this stuff that's the Chinese historical imperial, I guess it's the imperial treasures. You had like all these antiquities and antiques, and whenever they would say, oh, this is very nice, Puyi would say, oh, you want, here, have. And the colonel was rather should I use the word racist? But he told my dad, you tell that GD chink that I don't want a GD thing of his. And of course he used the actual word, but he said, I don't want a GD thing of what he has to offer me. So my dad, I mean, how do you say this? And Puyi understood English. He spoke English, so he knew what they were saying. His English wasn't the best. That they would still need to have an interpreter who was fluent in English when they did the interrogations. So my dad was like, "Oh, thank you so much, but no, thank you." And sort of in the Chinese mannerisms of being very humble and polite, and sort of I mean, this was the emperor here. So finally, there was a set of, I'm not sure if it's Ming Dynasty or Qing Dynasty horses. They're very, very, very old carved jade horses, and this colonel said to my dad, hey, you tell him I like that set, I want it. It was a set of I think 7 or 8 horses. And so my dad said, to the emperor, Colonel, he likes these. And he goes, oh, he likes them, you want? He said, yes, of course, he would like to have these. Well, I think there was 7 or 8 of them in the party, so everybody got one of those horses, including my dad. And that horse remains in my family, and actually it's now that my father's passed on, it belongs to me because it's passed down in the bloodline. That's sort of, it's mine. I haven't got it yet. My mum still got it in Canada. I haven't received it yet. Like I said, it's been 3 years since my dad passed, and it's not important. Physicians aren't important like that, but it's important for me to be able to pass down in my line. But yeah, so that is something that's a historical artifact that we have actually given to my dad's hand from the last emperor of China. So that's something really cool. So then after the war, once that was over, my dad, the Americans were still hanging around, and my dad was still attached with the army. He hadn't been dismissed yet. And there was, I guess, where the compound or whatever it was for the military, they had like a parade ground, and in the middle was like a whole pile of scrap metal. So this colonel said to my dad, Abe, get in here. So my dad went in there, and he goes, you see all that scrap metals out there? Get that off my parade ground. I want that gone. My dad said, okay, no problem. So he called his guy who was underneath of him, I guess like his assistant, and he said, look, Colonel wants to get rid of this. We need to get rid of it. So the guy said, okay. So he came back to my dad later on. He goes, I'm very, very, very sorry. He said, I found someone to get rid of it, but I could only garner $10 million. So that was US dollars. So that's how my dad made his first $1 million. He split it in half with the guy. So the guy got $5 million, my dad got $5 million, and that was how my dad first became a millionaire, through that. And then I mean, after that, he went into business. He went to Getz Brothers, what was then Getz Brothers, and then when the communists came, they had to basically escape China. and my dad had to burn all the title deeds, everything from his grandfather. He had to get rid of all of that, because if the communists came in and found him having land ownership papers and title and you know, all of that, in fact all of the family history, he would have been arrested and either executed or put into re-education camp as a warlord. So he had to burn all of those papers, and then with that, without having that on him, he and my grandmother and auntie could flee to out of China. And so they first went to Taiwan, and I mean, they were refugees is basically what it was. They left their homeland, their home country, and so they went to Taiwan first, and then they went to Turkey, and then Canada gave them asylum, and so they end up in Canada, actually in Montreal. And my dad, actually, he was married at the time, and he had I think one son, and then the second, or one son was, I can't remember if he already had one son, my oldest brother, or if he was born when they were in Taiwan, and then they had another one afterwards, and I can't remember if he was born in Taiwan or if he was born in Turkey. I don't remember. Anyway, so then they were in Montreal, Canada, and then my dad, he and the wife split up, and he went off first. I think he went to New York. No, he went first to Hawaii, and then from Hawaii he went back to New York, and then he went back to Montreal, then he went to Singapore, and then he ended up in Hong Kong, and he was doing this all for business and trying to make money, and he settled in Hong Kong and met my mom, and then the rest was history, because then along I came. But yeah, my dad, he wasn't, I mean, so that's just a little bit of background on my dad, so I thought, you know, you might be interested in that, because I mean, to me it's and that's just a smidgen, that's just a small part of his background. When he went to Hong Kong, he ended up, after, I think it was after I was born, he got a job with OOCL, or Overseas Container Lines, which is one of the largest container line companies in the world. And in the 1980s, he actually helped get OOCL out of a very bad situation where they were looking at bankruptcy, by going to the Chinese government to get a bailout, and that's how C.H. Tung ended up becoming the first governor, or the first chief officer of Hong Kong after the 1997 handover. But that was thanks to my dad, and you know, an idea that he had to go to the Chinese government to do that. So, but we also had our own business, and we had the sole distributorship within Hong Kong, Asia Pacific Rim, of Starkist tuna, 9 Lives, and 9 Lives cat food. And we also were doing a lot of the Charlie tuna branding. So we did towels for them, we did watches for them, we did radios and everything. And we're still, I mean, to this day, still very good friends with well, now it's the former owners, because they sold out after the original owner passed away. He passed it down to his son, and then when the son retired, that he sold it first to Heinz, and then Heinz broke it up and sold it in portions to other places. Anyway, so it's like it's still going now, and it's still got Morris the cat and everything, but and Charlie the tuna, but it's all under completely different ownership. But we were very, very good friends and close friends with the owners of Starkist and 9 Lives, and are to this day. So we also had the sole distribution, I guess it would be, distribution and agency for importing to Hong Kong and again Asia Pacific Rim of trolley jelly candies when it was owned still by Madeira. That was the owner of them at the time, the German company, and they sold out too. So I don't know who owns it now, but I still see trolley candies here in America. And it's kind of funny because I grew up with a lot of the little hamburger and the hot dogs and the pizza and everything. It was actually my sister who came up with those ideas, and actually to put them in, like the hamburger, to put it into the little hamburger container with how you would have like a Big Mac container with the plastic where it's lifted up. My sister, actually, that was her idea. So so if you ever see those, I don't know if they still have them up, but if you ever see those, that was my sister's idea. Yeah, I got some interesting facts about my family that you don't know about. But yeah, my dad, he was a very, very kind man. He was always one to help other people, always there to, if anybody needed a helping hand, he would be there. If anybody my dad was a problem solver. So something, I'm very blessed to have inherited from him. It's just something innate within us. We see solutions rather than the problem. So someone comes to us and they have a problem, and we don't see the problem, we see a solution for it. The problem is that people don't often take our advice, and it's like, it's plain as day. It's like, come on people, what is wrong with you? Anyway, if you just take our advice, things would be different. But he was always there to help other people. One of the things my dad always had a twinkle in his eye, a spark in his eye, because he was a prankster. And every 1st of April, he would get my mum and I. Oh boy, he would get us. I remember, I think it was like the second year, I think it was the second year we were living in Canada. And we by this time we were already living in the house, so it was probably the second year. And Mum and I got up and we came downstairs, and Dad was already up and he had breakfast ready for us, and he was saying, oh, he said, you know, I was on the radio this morning, he says, really, it's a terrible thing that happened. I was like, oh, what happened? He said, well, a dolphin got up into the Hudson, went up the Hudson River, and it got up into the canal system. And now it's stuck downtown Ottawa, and it's stuck in the Rideau Canal there. So there's a whole bunch of people gone down to the Rideau Canal downtown, and they're trying to help it, direct it to go back the opposite direction so it can go back into the ocean. A dolphin is stuck in the canal, in the locks there. We have to go and help. No, my dad said it's no, there's enough people going down. There's a big crowd, you can't get near to it. No, we gotta go down, we gotta help. No, he said no, it's there's too many people. Now the police are there, everything. He goes, you can't get near to the canal. But we gotta go and see. I said, how often we're gonna see a dolphin in the locks there in the canal? He said, you won't even be able to get close to it. He says they've got cordoned it all off, the tape is all there. The police, they won't let anybody come through. Boy, my mum and I were thinking how we're going to get down there. You know, no buses were running at that time. We had where we were living was quite those days was kind of remote, so we didn't really have much of a bus service. I'm trying to think how we're going to get down there. Neither of us drove, and then finally, like, my mum and I were really discussing how we're going to get down there, you know, without him knowing, because we're going to go down there, we're going to help this dolphin. Finally, my dad started laughing. He goes, you girls are so easy to fool. April Fool's Day, you don't even look at the calendar. Following year, Mom and I get up, go downstairs, and Dad is up. He's always up before us. And in those days, where my parents live, they actually live on a golf course, but the golf course is behind them, and they were sort of like in the island part. Like they're not like right on the golf course. They're on the island on the inside. In the it's a crescent where crescent where they live. There's no exit. You just sort of like go in a circle. Anyway. So second year there, we still didn't have, the whole crescent wasn't built up, so it was a brand new area that we moved into. So opposite them there was like a couple of houses, but then there was like open fields. You could see like open fields all the way up to the top of the road. Oh, he's my dad. You know, this morning, he said, I was sitting here, I was drinking my coffee, I looked outside. He goes, and there was a family of deer right outside the window. Those deer? Why you didn't wake us up and bring us downstairs to see? Oh, he said, no, you wanted to see, you don't need to see these things. You gotta sleep. Sleep is more important. Are you serious? We gotta come downstairs and see these deer. Why you didn't wake us up? Now we've missed it. That wasn't fair. He goes, no, it wasn't that much to see. I mean, it's just, which is just deer in our backyard. So we see a deer one time, you'll see maybe again it's gonna come. Oh, now my mom and I were mad. You see deer, you don't come running to get us, you don't grab a camera and take pictures. Gosh, what kind of person are you? You don't do this for us. And he starts laughing because every year I get you. How is it I get you every single year? And he did. He got us every single year. I can't remember. I mean, those are the two that really stood out in my mind. But he was always joking, always pranking people. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I was in the middle of a story, and we just had a big blackout here. So we went down to check out what was going on, and apparently the whole town was out of it wasn't just us, it was the entire town. So and my camera turned off in the middle of my story. That was so freaking rude. Okay, so I was telling the story about we had gone to Malaysia, and this one year we had gone with well, it was my mum, my brother, my and dad, and my sister, who's much older, and a friend of ours. And we'd go for dinners at in the resort that we'd stay at. They had these theme nights, and there was one that they had was a Malaysian theme, and they would have like the roast lamb, and I think I got that in before it got cut off. But this is in our, obviously, our my pre-vegan days, my pregan days as I call them. And so we used to go. My dad used to love it. My dad's favorite was lamb. And so we used to go to this, and then they would have like a cultural show at the end of the evening and everything, and it's just a really nice evening. But they would have these big tables set up, and they would have, so you could have like, you know, 8 to 10 people on a table. And we were 6 of us, I believe. There was Dad, Mom, Hetty, Chris, and myself. It was the 6 of us. So and it was a table for, I think there was it was a table for 8. So anyway, so we get to the table, and there's an older English couple there, and they take one look at us, and she kind of looks down her nose at us and looks at her husband and says, "Oh, I do hope they speak English," in a really kind of condescending way, and loud enough to make sure that we heard them. So of course, you know, we come to the table. The guy stands up to introduce himself, and he asks my dad, "Do you speak English?" And my dad, without missing a bit, goes, "A little bit, just little bit English." So then he starts to proceed to introduce, because he says to us, okay, you know, now he's heard this, he knows that they're racist. So he turns to us, he says, okay, just go along with it. He introduces us. He says, okay, this is wife number 1, to my mum, and points to me. This is daughter with wife number 1. Points to my sister. This is wife number 2. Points to our friend. This is wife number 3, and points to my brother and says, this is son with wife number 3. As Muslim, I can have 4 wives. So I have room for 1 more wife. These people did not say a single thing to us the entire evening. She was completely gobsmacked, and they ate their meal in silence, and they were gone. They didn't even stay for the show or anything. And it's just like, you know what? These people missed out on a great evening. For what? Because they were racist, and they were being, you know, not very nice to us. So anyway, my dad didn't have 2 wives, like 3 wives, just to let you know. So so yeah, my dad was, I can't remember what I'd been talking about earlier, but you know, he was a wonderful guy, really, really nice guy. He had the best sense of humor, and I got my sense of humor from him, I'm sure. In his last years, my dad had dementia towards the end of his life, and so it was hard. It was really difficult, and because he'd had a lot of mini strokes, what they call TIA, and that had messed with his brain, and so he had dementia. And I remember one time when he was visiting us in Mum and Dad came in 2006, and they stayed with us for 5 months and left in 2007. But I remember one day my dad and I were sitting in the living room, and we were just sitting there, and I was always as close as I could to get to my dad, because, you know, I didn't know if I was going to see him again. And I'm glad I did spend that time with him, because it turned out that I didn't see him again. And that was the last time I ever saw my dad during that trip. And one day he looked at me, and he had a moment of clarity, and he said, you know, Layla, I used to be such a brilliant man. Now, he said, I'm useless. He said, I don't know what's my point of living anymore. And that really got to me. That really cut me deeply, because it's like, here's this guy who was so brilliant, and that people from all over the world would come and seek his advice, and you know, he would consult with them, and he would help them, and now you know, he was realizing that he wasn't that brilliant. Like, he didn't have that function. He was still brilliant, but he didn't have that functionality that he was able to, you know, how he was before, and he was cognitive about that. And that's the hardest part, because it's almost like you're cognitive of it, but there's nothing you can do. And in those moments of clarity, you really know, and you can really make that, you know, discerning. It was tough. It was really tough. Anyway, so then you know, my dad, he passed away. It was very sudden, actually. He'd been ill. He'd been in the hospital come out about a month before, and then he started doing really well. And as he had done for most of his life, he was, you know, he would bounce back, and you know, we would be surprised, like he'd be on death's door, and then the next thing he was healthy again, he was fine. So he'd come out of hospital and he was doing really well. And that particular weekend, my mum said he was eating really well, and that had been a battle with him. In fact, I used to call him up, like, did you eat your food? Yes, I ate everything on my plate. And then I could hear my mum in the background. She was, stop lying. He's sitting there in front of his plate and it's completely full. Now I say, Dad, I said, why are you lying? And then he would start laughing. No, I'm not lying. She's lying. So it was kind of juvenile, but it was cute because, you know, it was a different person, and I would call him up just to make him laugh. That was all I was doing, was I would just call him up, just make him laugh, and you know, that was sort of our thing. And he really, I missed that. I missed being able to pick up the phone and just give him a call. But you know, we miss the physical. I know that we're going to be together again. I know inherently within me, I know that when we leave this life, it's not the end, and that we will be together again. I know that. It's just missing him in the physical. It was really funny because, like I said, we just had this major blackout, and the whole town went out. I went out. Ben went out to check to see if it was something outside. Because first of all, he was checking the breakers to see something tripped the breakers, and he was like, "Crap! What would have tripped the breakers? We don't have anything going that would have done that." Okay, he went outside to check, and then I could hear him outside saying, you got electricity? Do you have electricity? And so anyway, I went to check on him after I figured out that this had stopped recording. And the whole town had gone out. So I was like, yep, that was my dad. Because I said to him before he passed away, I said, Daddy, I said, when you pass away, you need to give me a sign that you're still around. I need to know. And it can't be a small thing. It can't be something like, could it have been him? No, because I mean, like, I believe in this stuff. I really believe in it, and I truly have a belief in it. But I'm also skeptical. Skeptical to the point where I need to see physical proof. I need to have something that's tangible, that's really, you know, right there. So I was looking for that, and nothing happened. So I was just, you know, saying, oh, so this is my dad now. Here we're talking about him, and he goes and not just turns out the electricity in our RV, he turns out in the whole freaking town. That's a good one. That was a good one. So anyway, so last year on the 2nd anniversary, Mum and I were Skyping, and it was really cool because it's like we're talking, and suddenly there's, like, behind her is a cabinet. Hello. You see who's come to visit me? Hello. You say hello? Yeah. Say hello to the cameras. Say hello. Hi. How you doing? Yeah. What you doing? Are you being a good girl? Yeah. You being good? Okay, you gonna go down now? Can you go down? Go down. Someone came to visit. Anyway, so Mum and I were Skyping, and behind her she's got a cabinet, and in the back of the cabinet is all glass. It's not glass. It's a glass cabinet, but in the back has got a mirror. I'm talking to her, and suddenly behind her in this mirror, my dad's face appears. It's like the weirdest thing, and he's looking. It's like he's looking towards us, and he's actually wearing a shirt that's part of a safari suit that he had, a light blue one, which was his favorite color and his favorite safari suit. And so Ben and I actually took a screen capture of it, and I'm going to put that in right now so you can see it. So you can see I've got it circled where my dad is, and so yeah, that was like the weirdest thing, and it was freaky, but that was absolute proof to me, because it wasn't there just a few minutes beforehand, and it was there for like almost it was almost about an hour that he was there, and then he sort of, and then it was gone. So it was like, but it was cool because it was like, okay, there you are. You've made your sign. I mean, I can't deny that. So anyway, so that photo is going in, so you can see that, and you can have a look at that. So, darling, do you want to talk a little bit about Dad and share a couple of when he was here to visit?
But it's like, of course, there was his birthday party and swinging at the piñata.
His first time ever.
Yeah.
It's
like he was really excited for his binoculars. I remember that much.
Yeah, we got him, and then our neighbors also got him binoculars. So he had 2 pairs of binoculars. and he was really excited about that. So do you remember he was trying to have a look through the binoculars, but he had the
Wrong side.
Yeah, was it the wrong side, or he had the caps on them, and he goes, these don't work. These don't work. Do you remember?
I couldn't remember if they were.
Oh, I think one of them was back to front. The other one, I think the ones that we had given to him, he had back to front, and then the other one had it had the lens cap or something on it. Mm-hmm. So he was like, these don't work, can't see anything.
Yeah, and you've already shared the other memories that I would have had of him. So it's like.
Do you remember when we went up to South Mountain and he was really scared?
I don't remember that too well.
Yeah, he didn't like the ride, because I didn't like the ride up.
None of you do. It's like
my mum was fine. Mum was fine.
Was she?
Yeah, Mum was fine, but Dad was like, no, I don't like this. Let's go back. Let's go back. Let's go back now. Let's go back now. And he really didn't like it. He wasn't enjoying himself.
Yeah.
And do you remember when and this is something more like what you did, but Dad was kind of like when we stopped and had a look at the houses down on North Scottsdale. And you went and tried the door on that one empty house.
I don't remember his reaction, but...
Tell them what happened when you tried the door on the empty house. The door...
The alarm went off.
Because the door opened.
Yeah.
It was empty. The house was completely empty. And he goes to open the door to check to see, to have a look to see if he could...
It was a model home or whatever, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a model home, but it was like for sale. And then as we're running to leave, and Dad's like running because he had a bit of that issue at that time, and he's like, oh, I have to go pee. I have to go pee. And we're like, you can't go pee. We're running away in case the cops come. We're running away from the police.
Right.
And he's like, no, I have to pee now.
I told you guys not to worry.
We're running away from the police because the police are going to come because the alarm's gone off in this house. And my dad's like, oh, I have to go pee. We have to go pee right now. It's like, you can't go right now. We're running from the cops. You can't pee as we're running from the police.
Yeah, there's no police around and you guys are freaking out.
Well, because an alarm went off. So of course there's going to be police going to come around eventually. But yeah, that was kind of funny. Yeah, and well, let me think. What else did when we were here? Well, we went down to Tombstone, and he liked that. Oh, and then the next door neighbors had those swords. Do you remember the swords that they were like samurai swords or something? And Dad was teaching them how to use the samurai swords. So then they thought that my dad was a samurai. So they had been for the last 5 years walking around telling people that my dad was a samurai. He's like, my dad's not even Japanese.
Who said that?
The next door neighbors.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, they had these samurai swords, and because my dad had been in the war, and in the war in China, which was against the Japanese, they often had found I guess they're like samurai swords, if you would call them samurai swords. I think they call them something else, but anyway, so he was teaching them how to use, our next door neighbors, how to use these swords. So these people now had it in their mind that my dad had been a samurai. So they were going around telling people, oh yeah, my neighbor's father was a samurai. It's like, okay, my dad's not Japanese. It's like, I know a lot of people get confused between Japan and China, but seriously, he's not even Japanese. So seriously, men. So seriously, my husband did not inform me after we had the blackout and I went outside and all the wind is blowing around and obviously my hijab went all over the place. I came back and I had to redo the last part of the video. My husband didn't inform me that I looked all disheveled like. Men! You have a camera in your face.
Stop already. You got your footage. Leave me alone.
Say sorry.
No.
Say sorry.
No. Sorry.
You see? That's what happens when you don't say something. The wife gets mad and you have to say sorry like that. Men, tell your wives when they look like crap and they look disheveled and they're going to go on YouTube.
You didn't look like crap.
He thinks that only I can see it.
Maybe other hijabis too, but it's no big deal.
Anybody who has got eyes can see the difference between point A and point B.
Single hair out of place is not a
It's
big
not
deal.
a single hair out of place.
It's the same kind of concept.
Men just don't get it. Women, please leave me a comment. No, don't leave me a comment. Leave him a comment and explain to him what I'm talking about. Seriously, women, I need you some backup here, okay? So get on my side here. And guys, too, if you can see it too, leave a comment, please. This guy, he's clueless. He needs to get a clue. Help me help him get a clue. Thank you. Love you. Okay, give us a thumbs up, like us. Tomorrow we'll be back to normal. If you can say that we're normal in any way, shape or form. It depends on what your definition of normal is, because we're normal to ourselves. We are so normal. So I don't know what your definition of normal is, but yeah. Anyway, give us a thumbs up. Give us a thumbs up because you watch this and you want to let me know that you are remembering my dad, even though you didn't know my dad. Just it means a lot to me. It's a hard day today, and it's been hard trying to do this without being in tears and trying to just sort of remember the good times and not have those emotions of that he's no longer with us anymore, at least physically. So that's hard. But I'm going to leave you with a few pictures of my dad, just so that you can put a face to his stories. He was a wonderful guy, and I love him very much, and I miss him. And thank you for taking the time to listen to this little tribute that I've sort of wanted to share with you about him. I mean, like, you're sharing part of our lives now. I figured that I might as well share that with you. So all right, before I completely lose it and start crying, I mean, I don't want to bring down the energy of this of our shows here, but it's kind of nice to just have an outlet and share with people who my dad was, people who don't even know who he is, complete strangers as it is, right? But really just. Anyway, I'm gonna end this before I keep on going on. And what's the word?
Before you keep rambling?
Rambling, before I keep rambling, yeah. Okay, so I got nothing else to say. Like us, subscribe, see us on Facebook, see us on Twitter, and leave us your comments, and leave us your video comments, because we have a Sunday shout out, and if we don't have a Sunday shout out this week, what the freak, people? Seriously, we want to do a shout out, and we want to feature you. So leave us a video response, so we can do that for you. Okay, love you guys so much, and thanks so much for joining me today and going on this little journey with me. Love you. Bye.
Now, don't you forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it on with your friends. Till next time, hanging with the herds.